That's right! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And pie on my cake.
And welcome to a combined exit interview and Final Four recap for So You Want to Be an Imagineer Season 16. Purists versus Innovators!
Woo!
Innovators. Innovators.
That's an echo, boys. Little Paul trick.
So, Pie, it's been a while.
Yeah, between your trip and then my trip. In a bit.
Your trip and my trip kind of happened literally one after the other.
Yeah. I'm still technically on a trip because I impulsively stopped at Universal.
Yeah, speaking of which, did you enjoy your sightline of Volcano Bay without actually going into Volcano Bay?
Yeah, getting to see the volcano is nice. The staircase sticking out of it is less nice.
Oh, man.
But it's a cool looking volcano.
So, Pi, let me ask you this. Have you gotten a chance to watch any of the 4.5 hours of trip report that Monkey, Dragon, and I did when I got back?
No, I haven't. I want to. I have it set aside on a watch later list, but with being at home and all that, I haven't had time to sit down and watch it yet.
But now that you're back...
Oh yeah, I'll probably be watching that tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, well, I tell you what then, Pi, we're not going to linger on the details of my trip. I'll let you discover that on your own.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. But, Pi, one of the things I do want to linger on, though, is your shocking elimination in the final 8. Pi, you were set to win this thing.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but thanks.
No, I would say, Pi, in the standings, in, everything, you were seed 1 out of seed 8 in the Elite 8.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
No, I'm not even trying to give you a compliment. I'm stating a matter of fact.
I thought Space was. Or did I overtake him?
I'm pretty sure you edged out Space in the last project, although I could be wrong.
Oh, well, if I did, cool.
Because Space did not submit for the last project, so I think because of that,
right.
You edged him out.
Yeah. I was able to beat Space Mountain. All I needed was for him to miss 4 projects.
Not to mention, that would mean that you were in Seed 1, Space was in Seed 2, so you two wouldn't be facing off against each other.
Yeah, I know.
So, anyways. So, Pi, let's be honest here, man. I want to cut the charade. The real reason why you haven't been on the podcast is that it took you some time to get over your shocking and unjust elimination. Am I right?
I have been weeping and wailing for a very long time. I comfort myself with a drink. I go through a bottle of wine before breakfast every day. It's the only way I can cope. The cocaine helps.
Okay, whoa. Okay.
Sorry.
We said we were going to work out a wrestling routine here, folks. We're kind of improvising this. Oh, God. All right. So, Pi, I kind of let's kind of play a little bit of inside the actor's studio, if you will, on inside the Imagineer studio, because we haven't gotten to do this in quite a while. Let's have a genuine exit interview with you, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Pi, so this is kind of going to go, I'm not going to cover every project in the game or anything. I'm mostly going to focus on the events kind of leading up to your elimination and then kind of a little bit of predictions on your end. But let's start with the beginning. Let's start with the theme of the season. So, signing up for Season 16, when you saw the subtitle, Purists versus Innovators, A, what did that title mean to you? And B, overall, throughout your time in the game, do you relate more to the Purist side of things or the Innovator side of things?
Well, when I first saw the title, I wasn't sure what exactly to expect. But the idea of doing the 2 separate prompts for each round has been really fun. I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to work at first, or how similar they would be, or if it would just feel kind of like everyone would be doing one thing, but it's been a lot of fun having the 2 different prompts. And while I wasn't really sure what to expect going in, it's turned out pretty great. I will say, though, I expect it to be very much on the going like full out blue sky innovators every round kind of thing. And I did in some rounds, but I found almost every round I sided with the Purists. I think that's partly because I have a love of doing like alternate timelines and things like that in my projects. If you notice, I think I did that like half of my projects this season. But yeah, so I identify more with the purists. It's more fun going back with the tools that are already there than making entirely new tools for me most of the time.
Yeah, Pi, and I'm so glad that the format on this worked. Folks, I'm going to give you guys a little tease here. I'm kind of building up to the hype and anticipation for season 17, of which a full announcement is going to drop as soon as we announce the winner for season 16. We're going to do it Survivor style. But for season 17, one of the things I can say is that for season 17, we're going to go back to the having 3 teams, having eliminations every round. But we're going to keep the format of having different prompts that different teams can work on. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a mix of the old and the new. Pi, for season 18, though, because I feel like Purists versus Innovators was such a success, for season 18, I feel like I want to go back to the format that we had for this season, which was kind of the tournament bracket style. So, folks, it's my sincere pleasure to say that I think the game has evolved enough to where different seasons can have entirely different gameplay mechanics to them and still function at the core of being So You Want to Be an Imagineer.
Yeah, it's almost like a spin-off. Like
it's
having
not a spin-off, Pi. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to say that the game functions on its own no matter what the mechanics are.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
You don't step all over my Brandon, Pi.
But no, well, I mean, it's like you're right. Like how with like Apprentice, sometimes they'll do it with like celebrities, sometimes they'll do it with regular people. But the show is still the same spirit, no matter who the contestants are or what the exact format is. Or like with Survivor.
I think my show has had a more positive cultural impact on the world than The Apprentice has.
True, though this show doesn't have Arnold Schwarzenegger hosting a season.
Oh, God.
But other than that, I'll stick with you there.
All right. Okay, Pi, so back to you. So going into the tournament-style brackets, of the first 8 projects that led you to the Elite 8, can you list like maybe a top 2 or 3 that were really like the prompts that really stuck out to you?
Okay, so before the Elite 8?
Yeah, before Elite 8.
And these are, you want the like projects I myself worked on, right?
Yes.
Okay. One that sticks out, partly because it's one I feel like I could have done better on if I like had more time or more tools available, was the very first one, the Star Wars Rebel Heroes. And that was the one I did where I had some like light gun elements, so like Duck Hunt mixed in. But I did that on my phone because I was still over winter break. So I'm still happy with how that one turned out, but it's one that always sticks out in my mind because I really like the idea I came up with, and I wish I would have been able to do it properly.
Yeah, that was one that Space beat you pretty handily in score-wise. So that was back during the early days of Space being the real competitive force. And I feel like you kind of gradually overtook him as the early rounds went on.
Yeah, well, I've grown a lot this round, honestly. Is like I'm not like new. I'm still relatively to a lot of people new. I'm still learning a lot of new skills. So between this and working on my dream park, the Pies Disneyland, I've learned a ton of new things. Which would bring me to my second before the Elite 8 project that stands out to me, would be from the infamous dining on a ride system challenge at Epcot.
Haters gonna hate.
I'm not even going to say that was like my best project or anything like that, but I just had so much fun doing the presentation on that one.
I just really liked the prompt because it was a genuinely fun prompt, and I'm not bitter about it at all.
Yeah, but without stretching too much of that in there, I had a lot of fun with the presentation because I did the WDWMagic announcement news page, and then I did the forums, and I did like a Google slide, and it was a challenge for me just seeing what all I could do, as well as just fun to walk on. I put in a lot of little jokes in there that I liked too.
All right. Okay, so Pi, you mentioned your growth throughout the season, and I definitely think that's evident. One of the things that really impressed me about your run in the game was how basically each and every project you attempted to go for a new presentation style. Would you like to speak to that strategy a little bit?
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't as much of a strategy as much as I just kind of gave myself a challenge that I want to try, like, I don't know if I stuck to it entirely, but I kind of gave myself a challenge. I want to try at least one thing new every round. Whether it's a new ride system I've never used before, like where I used the top spin I learned about from Defunctland, or new presentation style, like I said with the website, or even in my last round, I challenged myself to try out a little animation or writing a little song. That it just kind of made it more fun for me, and also made me learn a lot of new things. It pushed me outside my comfort zone a bit, and I don't know if it paid off every time, but I liked doing it and helped really get some good things out of me, I think.
Okay, so Pi, let's talk about probably your boldest project, which was the project that ended your run, unfortunately, by a meager 1 point.
Yeah, it was close.
It was close. It was close indeed. So, first of all, Pi, how do you feel about how the Elite Eight project as a whole went down? And also, more importantly, I think everyone wants to know how scared were you putting your own voice out there, and how nervous were you, for the presentation of the actual song that you did? Because that was one of the big standout moments. Now, Pi, I'm going to be honest with you. You're not going to be winning American Idol anytime soon.
No, I am not.
But I think the point of that moment is, even though you were clearly nervous about it, you did it anyways, and you went out and you presented yourself. And I think it was truly an inspirational moment for a lot of people in the project. And it kind of made your elimination all the more heartbreaking.
Well, let me start off by saying I love DisneyManOne, and I 100% agree with him beating me there, especially with his idea there. But I had a lot of fun working on the song and all that, and yeah, I was a little nervous, but this actually isn't the first time I did this for So You Want to Be an Imagineer. Back in season 14 on the Pinocchio musical, I did the song on that one too.
Oh, of course. How could I forget that?
It's okay. I almost forgot
I still remember that song, the Pleasure Island song.
Yeah.
Oh my god, of course.
I mean, this one was a bit more of a trying to be serious with it. But yeah, I like I said, I definitely agreed with DisneyManOne winning, but at the same time, it was one of those things where I was like writing the Danny Spink and working on the song and all the things like that, and it was a lot of fun to make. I think I came up with some really cool things, and the song itself, I mean, I'm not gonna say I wasn't nervous or anything like that, but this community here on these boards is such like a welcoming, encouraging place that I didn't have like fear that anyone would really be judging me on here. I knew that like people are gonna like this. It's gonna help with this. And I think it was a good thing I tried to push myself outside my comfort zone in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so Pi, you basically answered my last question, which was how do you feel about DisneyManOne's project? You were clearly a fan of it.
Oh yeah, I love the idea of Clef, and he is so good at writing the scripts, and he can crank them out so quickly too and still be high quality. Like his scripts are probably one of his biggest strengths. and it
You know
won't.
what it reminds me of? You probably never read this project. I think it's long since been lost in time, but it was one of the great early projects. It was the winning project from season 2 for JAG FKB, who did a Sleeping Beauty musical for the Hyperion Theater.
That sounds cool.
And like I feel like DisneyManOne has that same level of quality when it comes to his script writing and when it comes to his ability to really stage things out.
Oh yeah, I could see that being a real thing, especially expanding out on the Winnie the Pooh side and the new Fantasyland where there's a lot more room and things like that. Drawing
Can
people
you
in,
imagine them
entertaining
trying to
people.
do this in the small world corridor?
That would have been like the one thing turning a score from like a whatever it was, like 35, 37 to like a 2, sticking at the small world corridor.
Like
He
it
only
wouldn't
runs
matter
his
if it was just 10 points going to realism. Like I dock negative points. Like
yeah.
God.
See, Clef only performs in the middle of July and early August, right in front of Small World, in the middle between those two. And then just all of a sudden, realism is like negative 53.
Oh God.
Retroactively, he's kicked out of the Elite Eight, then we pull in someone else. But no, DisneyManOne did a fantastic job. I loved his idea, and I've always liked pretty much everything he's done. It's rare I'll see him do something and be like, that's just okay. He's almost always putting out great work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I was gonna lose to anyone, I'm happy to lose to him. He did a good job.
Okay, Pi, let's talk about some of the other people who got eliminated alongside you. I mean, this is a veritable Mount Rushmore for the season. I mean, that's what made the Elite Eight so shocking. And
Yeah.
I hate that it was like my first round where I had to judge solo. So therefore it was like, I tried to be as fair and balanced as I possibly could, but there's always going to be some sort of like, okay, and like even if you're intentionally trying not to be biased, like is that intentional trying not to be biased like coloring your opinion even more? You know what I mean? There's always that gray area as a judge that I hate.
I can say I didn't read as closely on all of the projects. Some of them I kind of skimmed certain parts, but I can say while they were all fantastic, I think your decisions that you made probably were good and all that. I think if I was judging myself, I probably would have agreed with all the things you said.
Okay. I'm sorry, my little brother's in the other room and he's kind of having a little bit of a freak out, so I'm kind of honestly
I understand.
cutting this show short to tell you the truth.
If you need to break it up and we could do the review podcast in like another half hour, something like that, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Let's just see how it goes.
Okay.
Actually, I think what I want to do is I want to just kind of ask a few more questions, kind of get your take on the final two, and then we'll break it up.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right. So Pi, let me see. Sorry, I'm kind of getting a little bit flustered here. So yeah, what do you think about some of the people that got eliminated though, like Space and D Hindley? I'd say Space and D Hindley in particular were two really big ones. And then you have Ace Astro, and Ace Astro was essentially he filled the cheerleader role of the season in a really good way because he was one of those people that was always submitting quality work, and more importantly, he had such a positive attitude and outlook on the game.
Ace Astro really is one of the most like positive and supporting people like across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And again, great work. And then D. Hindley, just look at any of his artwork, that just speaks for itself. And he always has the rest of the presentation to back that up. And then you have Space, who, I mean, let's face it, do you really even have to say anything about Space at this point? Him phoning in half the season still ended almost in first place.
Yeah. All right.
But okay, yeah, that like every Like, again, I agree with all 4 of your decisions, but like every decision was like, how are you going to decide between those two? How are you going to decide between those two?
Okay. Let me see here. Okay, space Pie. So let's talk about the final 4. Just, you know what? I'm trying to like kind of throw you a filler question so I can just go and check and see if everything's all right. Let me see. I tell you what, can you just talk about like another highlight project for you from the early rounds?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
So one project that was really fun for me to work on, it was one of the first ones when I really started challenging myself to do more with was actually going to go back to the Frozen ride, back from I think it was Prompt 2 that I did with Fantasyland. I came in like second to last in that place, and looking back at it now, I'm not going to say it's my best walk or anything like that. But one of the things of why that stands out for me is that was my first time ever doing a full ride through all myself. And while there's definitely some things I think could have been done better, there's a lot of things that I did there that I haven't done before that I'm really happy with how they turned out. Like the logo on the ride, and a couple of the ride scenes, yeah, aren't as good, and definitely was not the most realistic space-wise now that I'm looking at it with a more serious lens. But things like the projection dome sequence with Let It Go, or the window overlooking Fantasyland that would then project snow over Fantasyland, both were really fun things. And another project I feel like I could say something interesting about would be the Woody's Roundup Topspin ride, which that one was a fun one for me because I had an idea.
That was the one that you went to Defunct Land for inspiration for, right?
Yes. I had an idea like right off the bat of like a vague idea of trying to do a e-ticket like dark ride that would be sort of a roller coaster at some parts or something like that. And I just couldn't make it work in my mind that would be distinct enough from Thunder Mountain next door or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Fantasyland. So I spent like most of the week with just like really strong writer's block, just having no idea what to do with it. And then that we rewatched that the Funkland's like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make that walk.
Seriously, how great is Defunct Land? I want to do a podcast soon, Pie, about just highlighting all the great Disney YouTube channels that are out there right now. Like we have Defunct Land, we have Matterhorn Matt, we have Yesterworld Entertainment is Defunct Land. We have Bright Sun Films.
Oh yeah, they're good.
I mean, those 3 right there are just so high quality.
Oh yeah. I'm not super up to date with a lot of the ones right now other than Defunct Land. But if we're going even some like the older ones, I've always been a huge fan of Random Land, and he's still going around doing vlog type videos.
I'm not a huge fan of that community, but I won't get into details about that.
The community, I don't really know. I've never been a huge part of that. Mostly just watching his videos.
I'm not going to blame. Yeah, I shouldn't even blame
that. That might be one of the things where it's like Steven Universe, you stay off Tumblr when you discuss it.
Right.
Or Undertale. Undertale is such a good game and the weirdest and like most toxic fan base I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Disney YouTubers, I love them.
And Pie, I just want to before we get into the final 4, because I don't actually think we have to break it up. Actually,
okay.
Hopefully not. Before we get into the final 4, you've been mentioning just how welcoming this community is, and I can't emphasize enough. Like in this day and age of cynicism in the Disney community, okay, we have sites like Mice Chat that are just like kind of infamous at this point. Like I'm going to directly call that out. You know what I mean? Mice Chat is it's not a welcoming place to be. It's not a welcoming place to hang out. Theme Park Review, Rob Alvey, I have your number. Take me down anytime you want, boy. I'll win in a verbal argument. And if you ban me from your site, whatever. I never signed up for your site to begin with, so you can't ban me from anything. I'll call Rob Alvey out right now as being one of the worst, most rude admins of any fan community that I've ever seen in my 10, almost going on 20 years in the fan community. WDWMagic I've literally never seen anything like it, where we can have our skirmishes from time to time, but those skirmishes will easily get brushed over and they'll become part of the history, much like So You Want to Be an Imagineer. But with that being said, I mean, just how welcome WDWMagic is and how open they are about everyone and everyone's individual level of talent and their it's just such a great community. I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I need to, man. It's like, because
no, it's really great.
Yeah.
I don't get involved in online communities a lot because a lot of times they tend to be really cliquey and very.
That's exactly what the Random Land one is. It's cliquey as hell.
Yeah. The only other online community I was ever somewhat active in ever was. Have you ever heard of webcomic Brawl in the Family? It was like little Kirby and Nintendo cartoons.
Can't say I have.
Oh, it's really good stuff. But they had like monthly fan art contests and forums where we talked about Nintendo games. This was back like 7 years ago, probably. Mm-hmm. But that was the only other community I've ever been in before this one, because I usually just don't find a good place for myself there. But then I found this place. I was like, oh, I love it here. This is awesome.
Totally. Okay, Pi, so it's time to talk about the final four. So let's get into each of them on an individual level. We have DisneyManOne, we have Pixie Princess, we have KMB, and we have Disney Dad. Now, how do you feel about just that lineup in general? Do you feel like that was a good representation of the different talents involved in season 16?
It's fantastic, I think. Especially because it has such, like, a varied list of talents and things like that. Because you have, like, KMB, who's such a good writer and so good at presenting and always comes with really outside-the-box ideals. You have Disney Dad, who is, like, one of the most solid people on the boards. Like, I can't think of it like a single individual thing that, like, super stands out, but just across the board, everything's always very professional and well done. And then you have DisneyManOne, who, as I talked about earlier, with his scripts and the detail he puts into his projects and things like that are all fantastic. And then you have Pixie Princess, who's been the newcomer, who I know a bit more than you do because she was in the one-sentence competition. But Pixie always has really creative, out-of-the-box ideals, too, and has been growing so much just in the last couple rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a great collection of people.
Yeah, Pixie Princess is definitely one of the star players this season, and we'll be talking more about her as we get into our final two predictions for sure. So let's break it down, Pi. First of all, semifinals part 2, Volcano Who. I want to throw as much shade at Volcano Bay as possible, because with Volcano Bay, it's like when I saw it in person, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
I'm sure it's a fantastic water park as a water park. But the fact that they're calling it a theme park and how much they've raised prices...
Blizzard Beach is way more of a theme park than that.
Yeah. Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon are both rather heavily themed.
I can't speak to Typhoon Lagoon personally, but Blizzard Beach might have the best theming of any park on property.
I love Blizzard Beach. It needs some new rides. It's been way too long since they've updated things there, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And Typhoon Lagoon is just as detailed. It's a lot more subtle, though, because it's not making everything the snow and the melting ice and all that. It's just like a tropical island full of shipwrecks.
Nice.
But yeah, they're both fantastic and so much more themed than just even being able to tell from the highway as you drive past. There's one picture here. It's like comparing the Polynesian to the All-Stars.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Which I love the All-Stars for what they are, don't get me wrong.
I'm staying at the All-Stars proudly on my next trip, which I'm already planning, but
They're actually the only on-property hotels I've ever stayed at.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah. Well, and Fort Wilderness, but that's not a hotel.
I actually believe the All-Stars are the only resorts to have a connected bus to Blizzard Beach, too, so that's a plus.
There we go. And that brings us full circle back to making fun of Volcano Bay.
Volcano Bay sucks.
Volcano Bay, not my bay, like BAE. All right, we should just move on from that one.
Yes. Okay. So actually, let's go backwards from these. Let's talk about first, just kind of in order of when they were turned in. Let's talk about this was KMB with Glacier Bay.
Yeah, this was a really interesting one. Like, KMB always has the really out of the box ideals. This one may have gone a bit too far out of the box, but it's really interesting the way things connect together.
I think the thing that lost KMB this project, and I'll say it again, was the heavy inclusion of Guardians.
Yeah, especially because that is the one thing, like, just visual flow of the park, the alien ice planet and all that is the one thing that doesn't flow as well.
I like the idea of a Guardian's path.
I do too.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea by any stretch, but you're right. In terms of the flow of the park, like, honestly, from a creativity side, it doesn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me as much if we hadn't already seen a Guardians project from KMB. But in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, all right, KMB, you're kind of using Guardians as a little bit of a crutch at this point.
Yeah, which I understand is one of my favorite movies of all time. But he did just come right off of doing Guardians to do very focused on Guardians. And like I said, it's the one section of the park that doesn't really flow as well with the others.
Mm-hmm.
And focusing on that just kind of reinforces that.
That's the thing. Like, look, if this was a subland within the park, but we had more focus on the other areas, that would be one thing.
Or if that was the whole park. Like if it was just the alien ice planet.
Yeah, right, but then you'd still be running into the issue of having two Guardians-based projects in a row, though.
True. But yeah, it's very outside the box thinking overall with the park, but the Guardians is probably the big thing that hurts him here.
And I absolutely, like, I can, like, pretty much 100% guarantee that if the Guardians wasn't a focus, he would be in the final project.
Probably. It was a really close matchup. At least from my perspective, a really close matchup. I think yours was only off by like a half a point.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. That was that round. Yeah, it was a really close one.
About that.
It happens.
I'm honestly surprised there wasn't more controversy over that.
Oh, KMB and Pixie are both really good people, at least from what I've seen of Pixie. And KMB I've talked to a lot and worked with before. They're both really easygoing people, it seems like.
It was literally the Moonlight La La Land of So You Want to Be in a
Yeah.
I pulled a Beatty Dunaway. God.
But that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, there are some good ideas in here, though. I really do like the basically folding Blizzard Beach into this park. I thought that was an intriguing idea.
It is, because a lot of the Disney water parks, Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, almost feel like one land right now. So as one land in a larger park would really help solidify this as this is a themed park. Themed water park.
Yeah, I couldn't put it any better, Pi. Blizzard Beach is essentially like one giant land. You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas here. I like that. I honestly, every part of it I like. And it's The only problem I have with all of this is just the Guardians not flowing as well thematically with the others.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the project that just barely beat this.
Yeah.
Pixie Princess and her Art of Animation water park. This was the only purist prompt of the 4, and I'm so happy I'm so happy that we never got around where there was a prompt that simply went unused, because as you said, that was kind of a question if we were going to get heavily leaned one way or another projects, and I feel like overall it's been very balanced.
Oh yeah. But I thought the pirate one here was a purist because it's connected to the Caribbean beach resort. It was an innovator because it was bigger rock.
I mean, for my money, based on the prompt, I would think it would be an innovator.
Okay, I guess it's an innovator, but it's connected to a resort.
Hold on, let me see if he clarifies it. No, you see, that's the thing, Pi, is that I actually mistaked. Sorry. I actually mistaked. Hold on. Disney Dad. I mistake Disney Dad's project for a purist project for a similar reason that you did on DisneyMan's, is that with Disney Dad, his is connected to a Star Wars hotel, so that's why I thought it was a purist project. But no, I'm going to go ahead and assume that DisneyManOne's is an innovator project, just because the park itself is, like, by its very definition, it's a very innovative water park. But we'll get to that. We're kind of jumping around a little bit.
Oh yeah. Anyways, back to Pixie.
Back to Pixie. I don't really have a ton to say about the actual project itself, except she really used the numerical scores to her advantage, because I feel like this ticked off all the boxes. Creativity, she didn't need to get that high of a score. I think I gave her something like an 8 or a 7.5. But the things that really elevated her here were realism, which I'm pretty sure I gave 10 out of 10 to, and presentation, which I gave 9.5 out of 10 to. And Pi, I think presentation wise, that's the standout, because really, we're talking all about kind of pushing the layers of a presentation. And this is the first time I have seen a family project on So You Want to Be an Imagineer, and it was awesome.
I know, it's just a really adorable idea, and it turned out really nicely too.
Yeah.
They were able to pull it off without it, like, negatively affecting it, really. Because this is the type of idea that could have gone really bad really easily. But instead,
it's obviously not D. Hindley style super detailed artwork or anything.
But it works. It tells what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm. And really, I feel like Pixie has had sort of like almost like a mini version of your arc through the season, where each project she keeps challenging herself. Each project she keeps really upping her game and coming up with new ways to present her ideas.
Oh yeah, like coming pretty clearly from never having done bigger projects to being able now on like the same level as all these people, not just on the same level, but beating Space Mountain and KMB, who are two of like the better people on the boards.
Mm-hmm.
She's come such a long way here. It's really great.
Yeah, she's on a run. I mean, this is one of the biggest underdog runs in the history of the game. And one of the things I actually pride myself on from So You Want to Be an Imagineer is time and time again, even though the underdogs might not win the whole thing, in some cases, the underdog characters in the game are always these big standouts, and they always have such inspiring personal stories. And I think that speaks to the nature of the game. I think it speaks to the fact that at the end of the day, the game is basically a pen and paper creative writing competition, and anything that you add on top of that is kind of like gravy. It's like, it's kind of like fine cooking at that point.
Exactly.
And so I feel like I am so effing proud of this game, Pie. It's in my blood. It's probably it'll probably always and forever be my proudest accomplishment in my life, because I've literally seen a generation of people grow up on the game. I've seen a generation of people continue to hone their skills in it, and it's such a, I don't know, it's such a harboring community, and the fact that it's lasted through 3 different forums at this point. It's going strong into season 17. It's going to go strong into season 18. I'm a proud papa.
Yeah, you should be proud. This really is a big accomplishment here. Going on so long, probably the longest running Imagineering.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And yeah, it's always a great fun. It was, other than like the 2 rounds of the creator games, it was my first big competition and my first experience doing things more than just the one sentence, couple sentences there. And I've loved every round I've been a part of.
All right, so enough gushing on my end. Let's.
I do have one more thing to say about Pixie.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
That's
Go ahead.
okay. My favorite thing about hers, even beyond like the presentation, is the location. Because do you know the story of Pop Century? Have you seen anything really about the Pop Century and art of animation?
I know the story of Pop Century.
Yeah, with the Hourglass Lake right in between the two, that's just such a good location for this. It's. I was worried when I saw this round that we were going to get full River Country revivals, because it was an obvious location for something like this. So seeing what would have been almost certainly what I would have gone with if I was in here, that made me happy that someone else thought of that one.
Nice. And yeah, like I said, with the realism, that's another thing besides presentation that really put Pixie over the edge. She knew what she was doing when it came to the realism.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so moving on, let's get to Pie. I've got to admit, in spite of the numerical score being, again, slightly higher, I believe Disney Dad beat DisneyManOne by like 2 points. This might be my personal favorite of the 4 projects.
Yeah, it might just be because I'm such a big Pirates fan. I don't know if I would say this is the better project overall, but this is the one I would most want to go to.
That's a good way to put it. Here's the thing, Pie. This is out of the 3 Innovators projects, I feel like this is truly the one. This is what Volcano Bay wants to be. This is truly the project where it's like, Volcano Bay, let me show you how it's done. Step aside, hold my beer, Universal.
Yeah, this is the one that probably pushes the boundaries of what a water park can be the most. It reminds me back when they were talking about doing like the Disney's Wild Kingdom or something. You know, the Wild Africa track they do in Animal Kingdom. There's originally talk about
Kingdom.
Maybe that's it. But they were talking about doing like a whole park that was just like an extended version of the Wild Africa track.
Right.
But it's like focused around a full day experience. This sounds like that as a water park.
I can totally see that.
It pushes the boundaries of what it can do.
Now, my favorite detail in here is the most simple detail, which is the replica of the Neverland frickin' pool.
It works so well, though.
But you have no idea. The childhood nostalgia of that freaking pool is palatable. It's like I could reach out and taste the nostalgia.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, God. You know, as cool as the monorail slides are, that new pool they have there that I see every time I go to Trader Sam's, it's not even close to being the same. It's not even close to being as good.
Just going off of pictures, I gotta agree with you.
Yeah. I believe it's the same pool, too. It's probably the same overall, like, they probably have the same bridge and everything. It's just without the skull rock and everything. It's yeah. Now I'm depressed.
Well, no, I hear you, because It's not exactly the same thing, but over in Florida, when we used to do
Hold
the
on,
Fort Wilderness campground, what was that?
no. I said I'm going to cheer myself up.
There you go.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, but yeah, they have the Chippendale sing-along every night at Fort Wilderness. And it used to be, because we became kind of like a family friend back when my family used to go a lot. Her name was Sunday, and she was a bit older, who would lead it every single night. And that was what she did. But when she started having like some back issues or something like that, and she wasn't able to do it like every single night, it was never quite the same with just like whatever random young person they got to replace her. So I hear you. It's not exactly the same thing, but the nostalgic thing that isn't nostalgic anymore.
It'll be the same experience when Yeehaw Bob eventually retires from Riverside.
There you go.
Which that'll be a sad day.
Indeed.
Anyways.
But yeah, the pool and the Neverland inclusion being in there, I like that it's kept general pirates, not like specifically Pirates of the Caribbean or specifically a Neverland Island. It's good the way it all ties together.
Okay. And of course, all the different quests and everything. That's another thing about this project that really stands out.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's a concept I've toyed with in the past of something I wanted to do, but I've never like had a good excuse to use it. But to see it implemented so well in a water park of all things, and I love it.
I feel like we're not really all that far off from it either, because
yeah, it's innovative but still realistic.
I mean, because like look at stuff like Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, which that is kind of fun. It takes up like your whole day, but if you can do a day for that, it's fun.
All right.
But yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to the last project that we have to talk about, the other winning project, Disney Dad. So Pi, of course, Disney Dad had some technical issues with the Final 8 project, and he barely scraped by into this round. And I truly feel like it's another thing where it's like there's two what ifs here. There's a what if KMB didn't use Guardians, or at least didn't so much focus on Guardians with his project. And the other big what if thing is, what if Disney Dad wasn't on a revenge path?
Yeah. This is such a great round for what ifs, because both of the matchups were so close.
Because I truly feel that if Disney Dad, hear me out, follow my logic here.
Okay.
I truly feel that if Disney Dad, if his presentation would have come through in the last round, if his video presentation would have come through, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have tried as hard. I'm just saying he wouldn't have gone over the edge like he did. And that's the only thing that would have stopped the Pirates Cove project dead in its track, was Disney Dad going absolutely over and above and beyond.
It really is incredible the way this all comes together.
Oh, man. I love the narrative.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite things about the Swig Ones, WDWMagic, is tuning into the podcast and hearing the way you talk about it like a TV show and all that and treating it that way. It makes it a lot of fun.
Oh, and Pi, yeah, I absolutely like to treat it like that, even if it's only happening like that in my own head. You know, I like to share the headcanon with the folks.
It helps me enjoy it that way, too.
Sure. I mean, and again, a lot of it I kind of put down to wrestling terminology, where it's like with Disney Dad, look, I'm sure he wasn't like, okay, I'm going to make it my personal goal now to avenge the honor of my project, you know. I'm just sure he's like, okay, I'm going to try like extra hard this time. But, you know, in my own, you know, narrative-focused Jeff Probstian mind, I'm just like, Disney Dad has it out for blood now.
But I know what you mean, though.
Okay. So yeah, I just really feel like it's just how this was presented was just really, really cool with the Orlando Sentinel. Of course, we have the shout out to the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Pi, have you read the Dream Mountain proposal? Because I'm so intrigued by Dream Mountain now.
I skimmed it. I read it a while back, and I skimmed it recently with the Markmania. So I'm not like super familiar with it because that was when I was on my hiatus.
Okay.
But it's good from what I've seen of it and from what I remember of it.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, just the concept. I hate to I hate that it's like one of the things that like really draws me into the project, but at the same time, in terms of presentation, like to have a little side detail like that catch your eye so much, it shows you that he knows what he's doing in
oh
terms
yeah,
of presentation.
it's fantastic. Which, speaking of the presentation with the whole the Orlando Sentinel thing, like I mentioned earlier, that was one of my favorite things when I did the like WDWMagic, having fun with that. But when I did it, I'm gonna freely admit that was just like a me having fun. That was a gimmick. This really elevates the project, and he does such a good job with it. It looks so professional. It's like the difference between talking animals being used in that movie Sing and talking animals being used in BoJack Horseman. Mine was a gimmick that did nothing for it. His makes it better.
That's a perfect analogy, Pi. I love that.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it just turned out great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so Pi, I'm glad that you're in agreement with the kind of the symmetrical, the symmetrical quality of these two big what if things kind of leading into the final round. But with that in mind, Pi, let's go to the final round.
All right.
Let me pull up the prompt. I believe it's page 25, I want to say. Maybe not. No, it's probably page 26. Sorry.
This is an interesting final round. Well, interesting final two for the final round.
I love this final two. This might be my favorite group of finalists we've ever had, or at least in like my top 5 favorite finalists. Hold on, Pi. Okay. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
So no matter who wins, we're gonna have a first. All right.
Okay.
We're either going to have the biggest underdog winner in the history of the game with Pixie Princess.
By far, probably.
Or we're going to have the first parent who's won the game with Disney Dad.
That's gonna be a good matchup.
And I think either of those two winning is really cool. And with Disney Dad in particular, I feel like that's been part of his arc, is that real life has gotten in the way sometimes. And he is a parent. He is a dad. It's part of his persona here. And I just think it'd be really fun. It'd be a new type of winner if Disney Dad were to emerge victorious.
It would be so cool. Either way, it's such a good story.
Exactly. It's a great story either way. And of course, Pixie at this point, I feel like Pixie is the underdog, but she's been the underdog for the past 2 projects. And look who she's taken out. And so it's,
Yeah. Pixie, the safe money is probably on Disney Dad, but at the same time, if I was betting, I'm gonna bet on Pixie doing something really creative and out of the box and surprising us all with something even more impressive than what she's done before yet again.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see what they come up with. I also, this is a prompt for the final project I've had in the back of my hand since the beginning, Pi, and I'm really excited to see the results of it. Either the best darn castle park you could ever hope to come up with, or a resort that has 2 parks, neither of which are a castle park. What do you think of the prompt?
Oh, I love that. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but every So You Want to Be Imagineer season, the last prompt is an entire park, right?
No, not every season, no.
Okay. So then I guess I'm wrong about that being a tradition. But in my mind, if kind of remembering wrong that was a tradition.
Yes, you're not wrong. Generally speaking, it is kind of the tradition. I'm just saying, historically, like season 2, the final project was a musical, and that's what we were talking about. Jag's
yeah, that's right.
Sleeping Beauty musical. So it's not every season. It's not every season, but generally speaking, that is the tradition.
Okay. But with the idea of doing a new park, this is just such a great Purists versus Innovators way to do it. Because the idea of refining a castle park is always such an interesting thing to do. That's something I did recently with my dream park at the Pies Disneyland, and there's so many challenges with that you don't even realize when you start looking at it. It's like, well, is cowboys really something that culturally is still a thing we want to build a land around? Or Tomorrowland, how do you do that and still make it current? Do you just do the steampunk everyone else does? Do you do a sci-fi city? What are you going to do with that? Every part, there's so many things to think about and so many things to do and so many challenges of
Fantasyland. There's so many different IPs that it's like a wonder you could do with that. Yeah,
you could do an entire park as Fantasyland at this point.
Right.
But then at the same time, you want to try and give Fantasyland its own identity, not just a collection of IPs, whether it's the Castle Fair, the Enchanted Forest, of like the new Fantasyland. Even that has its own things. But then the idea of just completely reinventing the wheel and doing not one, but 2 completely new parks built from the ground up, that's another really interesting challenge that has so much that you can do.
It would be the first Disney resort that's like a major destination resort in the Disney Parks brand that does not contain a castle park. That's the big Innovators thing. To extend the Disney Parks brand beyond the castle park.
It's just so much that goes into making that work without just feeling not Disney. Because you have to do more than just stick an Epcot and a Studios Park type of thing there.
Oh, God, yes.
But yeah, it's really great, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. It's going to be interesting to see who wins, because like I said, I honestly could see it going either way.
And Pi, let's do a reveal live on air right now because the finalists still don't know exactly how the winner is going to get crowned. Fortunately, folks, you aren't going to have to worry about my potential bias because you're going to have to worry about the Elite 8 and their potential bias.
Woohoo! More biases!
Okay, so we have a jury composed of, let me see, I believe it is Pi, DisneyManOne, KMB, Space, D. Hindley, Pi, DisneyManOne, KMB, Space, D. Hindley, Magic Feather, and Ace Astro. Magic Feather, of course, being the person who missed out on the Elite 8. Like she was 9th place. She was the one person. She was kind of the person who didn't quite get into the Elite 8. So that's the jury, folks. And you guys are going to have to basically at the start of the week. So tomorrow, I'm going to post a compilation of both Pixie Princess and Disney Dad's projects throughout the season. I'm going to post links to them and everything. And the jury is going to vote not only on, it's going to kind of be a vote based on both the history of these people, like, you know, like what they've accomplished throughout their run in the game, and also, of course, importantly, taking serious consideration into their performance in the final project. So it's very much going to be a personal vote on your guys' end. And Pi, you've known about this twist for some time. Are you excited to be a juror and help crown the winner?
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Did you like my Grinch meme that I sent the jury when I summoned them?
Oh yeah, what's the line? Jury duty, jury duties.
Okay, well, the title of the message, folks, the title of the Jury House group message is just jury duty, jury duty. and then when you enter the message, it says blackmail, pink slip, jury duty, jury duty.
That's probably a scene of that movie. Love it.
I'm not a big fan of the Grinch, but that particular moment is always stuck out to me as like a really fun Jim Carrey moment.
Oh yeah,
Anyways.
But yeah, so you have your list of jury people to start either blackmailing or bribing into voting for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so get on that.
After all, this is a social game at the heart of it, right?
Yeah. Remember, everyone, or remember, Pixie, Disney Dad, if you're listening, families are not off limit.
God.
Families are very much off limits. Just going to clarify that. I do not speak for So You Want to Be a Imagineer, LLC, or whatever. Right. Incorporate it.
All right. Okay, folks. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thanks so much for a wonderful season of So You Want to Be an Imagineer. It's truly been an honor hosting this time around. I was honestly considering retiring So You Want to Be an Imagineer after season 15, and I'm so glad I didn't. Honestly, the reason why season 16 came around to begin with is simply because I felt like this forum needed a little bit of a kick in the pants. I really felt like we needed to get the competitive edge back, and I think this season has been a resounding success. It had some slow moments, it had some projects that weren't as popular as other projects, but overall, just narratively, and Pi, that's another thing. I was worried about sacrificing the narrative when I did the Every Man for Himself projects. But no, narratively, we have two incredibly captivating finalists who both have really unique and personal story arcs that got them to the final two, at least in my own headcanon. So,
But no, I agree. This has been a great season, very interesting season. I think the gamble of changing up how the game works really paid off.
Yeah. All right, folks, and we are going to be going ahead and crowning our winner sometime over the weekend, because I'm going to be giving a 36-hour grace period for the jury voting. So I will be crowning the winner live. I'm going to be doing it like Survivor, where I'm going to have like voting cards and everything. So it's going to be like, I'm hoping for a close vote so I can so I can string out the suspense I'm hoping for a 4-3 Pi. I'm hoping for a 4-3.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. All right, any last words, Pi?
No, I'm just gonna keep saying until you cut me off.
Okay.